Hello everyone, it's Jennifer and thank you for joining me today. Just yesterday or the day before, depending on when this gets posted, I did an unboxing for the Beads of the Month Club, and I had the Double Gemstone Beads, which is Chinese Jade, and one of the shapes was these rice beads, and these rice beads are 7 by 14 millimeters, and they are perfect size for anything. I thought, oh, maybe I would go ahead and make up a necklace. And then as I started working through this, I thought, wow, this would be a gorgeous bracelet on the wrist with all this copper. How did I come up with all the copper? Well, this month, the Findings Companion Pack is copper. And this Findings Pack is an add-on to your subscription. And I would really, I'm a huge supporter of the Companion Pack. I've been getting the Companion Pack, and I might not use all of it this month, but then I know that I have it. I have some extra jump rings for my stash. I have some extra headbands for my stash. It's just a great stash builder as well. So we are using these rice beads, and no two rice beads are the same, and these are just beautiful. And I'm going to put a link in the description for my unboxing so that you can see all of the beads up close. I'm also in the description going to leave my coupon code using Bella10. When you subscribe to one of the subscriptions, you will get 10% off of your first month's subscription. Now, I'm also going, from my stash, I'm bringing in some bare copper 22 gauge. This is Softflex craftwire. I love Softflex craftwire. I love Softflex beading wire. But today we're going to be using the bare copper craftwire in 22 gauge. And the reason why this is all wonky is because it was my first, I hadn't used it yet. So it was just a little wonky that first time around. Something else from my stash are, so these are all from the box. I have these little tiny copper beads, and I believe these are tiara cast, because actually, I know they're tiara cast because they came from my tiara cast stash. And then I also have these discs. I was looking for daisy spacers, but I didn't have daisy spacers in the right shade. Now, these here are antique copper, and these are copper, and the wire is copper, and I think it just mixes it up just a little bit. And all I did was do some wire wrapping on the end, and then I attached it with these these are so thick, these jump rings. And that's why I decided to go with a bracelet, because these are really thick jump rings, and they will provide the good security of having that together. These are the scraps that I have so far, not that much. And that is because I'm working from a large piece. And so when you work from a larger piece, you can basically kind of work from the spool, right? So that's what we're going to do until I get, until I finish this up, and then we'll pull a little bit off of the spool. But that's where we're going. And then I just connected it, like I said, with those big, huge, chunky jump rings. So what I am bringing in from the gemstones are these, again, the 7 by 14 millimeter rice beads, this gorgeous lobster clasp from the Companion Pack, and then some of those chunky jump rings. And I'm going to use one of the jump rings as my clasp holder. And the reason why is because they're so thick. So we're going to go ahead and use those. All right, so first things first. The first thing I do is, since I'm going to be kind of working from the spool, this end, I don't want to cut off this end because I can use it for wrapping. But the first thing I'm going to do is I am going to thread on one of these little tiny spacer beads. And part of the reason why I did 22 gauge was so that these would fit on there as well. Then we're going to put on one of these discs. Then we're going to add one of these gorgeous, gorgeous rice beads. Then we're going to go in reverse and do that and put that on just like so. So now we have our pattern. So down here, what I just do is I normally just give it a little bit of a kink. It already had a little bit of a kink, but I'm going to go ahead and just do that. Okay, and that's so that they don't fall off. We are going to be using our basic tools, our cutters, our chain nose pliers, our round nose pliers, and our bent chain nose pliers. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to give it that 90-degree angle bend. And since I'm not going to be making too large of a loop, I am going to go ahead and just come down just a little bit over an inch, very little over an inch. And then I am coming in about there. So on these round nose pliers, these are from Softlex. I love these round nose pliers. They don't have very long, the barrels aren't very long, but the handles are really long, and I like that for my larger hands. And really, this does the job, because if I'm going to go any more than this, I have bell making pliers. All right, so let's go ahead and just form that over the top barrel. Then just turn your wrist, and so now you have this here. You just push that to the back, and then just get that all nice and centered up. And since we are not wire wrapping directly onto each of the components, we're going to go ahead and wrap that up. And I have my chain nose pliers, the tippy tip of my chain nose pliers, over the loop, not where the wires are crossing, only where the loop is. And then I'm going to go ahead and with my chain nose pliers, sorry about that, I'm going to come in and grab. And I don't do one clean sweep, only because sometimes I have found where I have snapped it and I snapped it too small, and so then I had to totally waste and trash this piece. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead, I'm not going to trim it yet, because I'm going to wait until I have that all nice and snug and tight, because then I know that I can get my loop all tucked in easily. And probably going to get another component out of this. So now I'm going to go ahead and come in, and here's the front. The front is on this side. My tail ends on this side. So I want my front to be the same. I want my the front to be the same on both sides. So I'm going to go ahead and come in, form that over. I'm going to go ahead and rotate, push that to the back, and then I'm going to go ahead and get that all nice and centered. I'm going to put the tippy tip of my, and I can already tell that's a little wonky. Let's just go ahead and get this a little, there we go. It's still a little wonky, we'll fix it. All right, so now I'm going to go ahead and I'm just going to use my fingers for this and go ahead. And I actually don't think I'll have enough for another one on that. Okay. So now let's just go ahead and get that trimmed off, and then we'll get this side trimmed off, and so that we can tuck in the tail. So let's go ahead and tuck that in. And all I'm doing is taking the tip, and I don't have to worry too much because those are metal. I'm not going to be breaking any glass beads, but I still want to be careful because I don't want to distort anything. All right, and so now we have our component. So we're going to go ahead and make 2 more. Okay, so we're going to have a little bit of waste. I will use this for, sometimes what I do with pieces like this is I save them for when I'm making chain and I want the same length, and I'll use this. Or it could be for a very small component. All right, so I'm just going to kind of eyeball and see, and you could work from the spool if you like. If I were to work from the spool, which I normally do work from the spool, it would be all over, and then I would bump up into the camera and it would just not be very pretty. So we're just going to go ahead and do it this way and put on our, so we did our little tiny one. That's nice and shiny. This one's a little antiqued. And then we're going to go ahead and thread on our rice bead. We're going to take our little antiqued spacer bead here, and then our little tiny shiny one. Okay, let's go ahead and just kink that end so that it doesn't go off. And we're going to come down just about an inch or so, give it that 90-degree angle bend, come in about so, go ahead and rotate. We're going to push to the back and then make that little centered. One of those was really wonky, but that's okay. All right, so then I always move it because I just kind of start it a little bit just to lock it while I'm grabbing my bent chain nose pliers, and I don't know why I started doing that. It's probably something I learned from Kelly because she's the one that taught me how to do my wire wraps. Okay, so there we go, and I'm not going to cut it until I do this other side because it's just easier to tuck in when it's easier for me to tuck in the tail when there's something up against the bead. Sometimes when I tuck in the tail, I push the tail a little outwards, and so it's not usually very pretty. So I do it this way. Okay, I'm at the tippy tip because it is 22 gauge. It's a thinner wire, and so it's not going to take that big of a neck, that long of a neck, to get the wraps all around it evenly. I like to do 3 wraps so that it's consistent. If I had a 20 gauge wire, I would come down just a little bit off on my chain nose pliers, and I'll show you. Okay, and we have just enough for another one. Okay, so let's go ahead and trim off this side too. Come in with my bent chain nose pliers and then just tuck in that tail. And it just tucks in nicely when you have something to go up against it. And that could just be me because I'm not really good at tucking in the tails because then I end up totally distorting everything. All right, so there's that one. And I think let me go ahead and put these on and see where we are. At the length. Okay, so here I have the front up on top. So I'm going to have the front up on top on this side too. Again, I don't think anybody would ever notice, but I notice. And let's get those closed up. They're absolutely amazing. I might only need that one. So I'm glad I decided to do 3 on camera. Okay, so here's the front, and we're gonna go ahead and thread that on, and there's the front there. The front is where you start the loop. The back is where I end it. So I stay consistent on all of my wire wraps and get that nice and tight. I'm going to just put it on my wrist real fast. And I think that's good to go. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 of these long ones here, because you have to take into consideration, we're going to have 2 more jump rings. So and the jump rings are 7 by 6. They're slightly oval. Slightly oval. Okay, let's go ahead and do that. Get that gorgeous, gorgeous, gorgeous lobster clasp. Now, I do post these videos close to the first of the month, and here's why. I know that when I started my subscription with Beads of the Month, I actually started just randomly during the month, and I got that month's subscription too. So when I asked the rep that I have, I was like, oh, so when I'm talking to my viewers, how do we know if they can get it or not? If they can get that same exact months or not? And here's the deal. If they are in stock, they will send you this month's. You can always email them. Their customer service and their response time is absolutely amazing. So you actually might get this month's subscription if you subscribe sooner rather than later. I'm going to put it on my Fandy Dandy. And this is at 6 3/4. So this is at 6 3/4. Perfect for me. And again, you have to take into consideration this long, this is an inch. So if this here is 1 1/4 inches, this is a whole inch here. And then you think about all of your jump rings in between, that really adds a lot of length. So I didn't need this last one. So 5, I can make another bracelet just like so. So I can make 2 bracelets. So please give this video a huge thumbs up if you like it. Please subscribe so that you can see what else I make. I have so many more beads. I'm going to try and maybe do a 2-project video for the next video, because I'm going to be doing some simple stringing. I know that I'm going to be working with some leather. So please look, I'm going to have at least 2 more videos using this Gemstones Beads of the Month along with a companion pack. So please do subscribe so that you don't miss out. Also comment. I love to see what everybody has to say. What do you think about this bright copper? Then I have a little touch of antiqued copper, but it's not too antiqued. But what do you think about these colors? Aren't these amazing? Please let me know. Don't forget to go check out the Beads of the Month Club. I'm going to put a link in the description. And don't forget to use Bella10 for 10% off of your first month's subscription. And until next time, have a good one.